The world is less peaceful today than at any point since the end of the Second World War. That is not an opinion. That is the conclusion of the 2026 Global Peace Index, the most authoritative annual ranking of global safety and peacefulness in the world, released just weeks ago. Global peacefulness has now deteriorated for 12 consecutive years in a row. The number of countries involved in at least one external conflict in the past 5 years has risen from 59 in 2008 to 103 in 2026. Active wars on multiple continents. Political instability spreading to countries that felt settled just a decade ago. The picture, at the global level, is genuinely sobering. And yet, at the very top of this index, a small group of countries has barely moved. While the rest of the world trends toward conflict and instability, these countries have maintained extraordinary levels of safety, societal calm, and peaceful governance year after year after year. They are the safest places on Earth to live. And in this video, we are counting them down, the top 10 safest countries in the world in 2026, with everything you need to know about each one. Welcome to the channel. This video is a complete breakdown of the 2026 Global Peace Index Top 10, the 10 safest countries in the world as determined by the Institute for Economics and Peace, released in June 2026 in the index's landmark 20th anniversary edition. We are covering what makes each country so consistently safe, what life is actually like there, and what the broader story behind these rankings tells us about the state of the world right now. Let us get into it. Before we get into the countdown, let me explain exactly what the Global Peace Index is and how it works, because understanding the methodology is what makes the rankings genuinely meaningful rather than just another arbitrary list. The Global Peace Index, commonly abbreviated as a GPI, is produced annually by the Institute for Economics and Peace, an independent think tank founded by Australian philanthropist Steve Kalelia. Site Index equals 13-1, released annually by the Institute for Economics and Peace. The Global Peace Index ranks 163 countries and territories based on their overall peacefulness. The 2026 edition marks the report's 20th year, or site. The index measures peacefulness across 3 broad domains. The first is societal safety and security, which includes crime rates, violent demonstrations, political instability, and homicide levels. The second is the extent of ongoing domestic and international conflict, which includes military engagements, battle deaths, and the duration of active conflicts. The third is the degree of militarization, which includes military expenditure as a percentage of GDP, the number of armed services personnel, and access to weapons. Each country receives a score between 1 and 5 across these domains, with lower scores indicating greater peacefulness and safety. The scores are then combined into a single GPI score that determines the ranking. Site Index equals 11-1. The 2026 edition signals that global peace has declined for the 12th year in a row. This year's report says the world is facing more active conflicts than at any time since the end of the Second World War, or Site. Site Index equals 14-1. The assessment took into account crime rates, the presence of internal and external conflicts, political stability, and the degree of militarization. Site. One important caveat worth stating upfront: the GPI measures overall national peacefulness, which is related to but not identical to traveler safety specifically. A country can rank very high on the GPI through political stability and low militarization even if it has pockets of urban crime that travelers should be aware of. And a country with a slightly lower GPI ranking may be an extremely safe travel destination for tourists even if it has a higher military budget. The GPI is the most comprehensive and widely cited measure of national safety in the world, but is most useful as a broad directional indicator rather than a definitive safety guarantee for any specific person in any specific place. With that context established, let us count down the 10 safest countries on Earth in 2026. Number 10, Finland. Closing out the top 10 is Finland, a Nordic nation that consistently ranks among the world's most stable, equal, and well-governed countries, and which also holds the remarkable distinction of having been ranked the world's happiest country for multiple consecutive years by the World Happiness Report. Finland's safety stems from a combination of factors that reinforce one another: exceptionally low violent crime rates, a robust and trusted judicial system, one of the lowest levels of political corruption in the world, and a strong social welfare state that reduces the economic inequality that often underlies crime and social unrest. Finnish society places a high premium on trust between citizens and their institutions, and this deep social trust is reflected directly in the country's extraordinarily low crime statistics. Finland is also home to some of Europe's most spectacular natural landscapes, hundreds of thousands of lakes, vast boreal forests, the northern lights in Lapland during winter, and the extraordinary phenomenon of the midnight sun in summer, when the sun does not set for weeks at a time. The combination of natural beauty, cultural richness, particularly in Helsinki and Turku, and the kind of daily safety that most people in higher crime countries can barely imagine makes Finland one of the most genuinely exceptional places to live in the entire world. Number 9. Singapore. Singapore's presence in the global top 10 is remarkable when you consider its context. Unlike the Nordic and Central European countries that dominate the upper portion of this list, Singapore is a small, densely populated city-state in Southeast Asia, a region with significantly more political and security volatility than Europe. And yet Singapore has built and maintained one of the safest urban environments anywhere on the planet. Site index equals 14-1. The only non-European countries in the top 10 are New Zealand, Singapore, and Japan. This result confirms that Western and Central Europe, as a whole, remain the most stable region on the planet. Our site. Singapore's safety is built on several foundations. Strict rule of law. Singapore is famous for its zero-tolerance approach to crime, including laws that may seem unusually strict to visitors from some Western countries, such as prohibitions on chewing gum in public spaces. Extraordinarily efficient governance and very low levels of public sector corruption. And a deep social contract between the government and citizens built on the delivery of exceptional public housing, healthcare, education, and infrastructure in exchange for high levels of civic compliance. The result is a city where violent crime is genuinely rare, where public spaces are impeccably maintained, and where the experience of daily life, taking the MRT, walking through any neighborhood at any hour, using public amenities, carries essentially no safety anxiety for residents. For a city of almost 6 million people, this is a genuinely extraordinary achievement, and it explains why Singapore consistently ranks among the very top of global safety indexes year after year. Singapore also happens to hold the world's most powerful passport, visa-free access to 192 countries as of the 2026 Henley Passport Index, a combination of extreme domestic safety and extraordinary global mobility that makes it one of the most uniquely advantaged nations on Earth. Number 8. Portugal. Portugal enters the top 10 at 8th place, and its presence here reflects one of the most consistent patterns in European safety rankings. Portugal has built a reputation over many years as one of Europe's most welcoming, low-crime, and genuinely relaxed countries, both for residents and for the millions of international visitors who travel there annually. Portugal's low crime rate is particularly notable given that it sits on the Iberian Peninsula alongside Spain, and that both countries experienced significant economic turbulence following the 2008 global financial crisis. Despite those economic pressures, Portugal maintained social stability and managed to avoid the kind of rises in violent crime that might have been expected. Low homicide rates, minimal political violence, and a functioning democratic system with strong civic institutions all contribute to its consistently high GPI performance. Beyond the safety statistics, Portugal offers an extraordinary quality of life proposition, particularly for anyone considering living there rather than just visiting. Lisbon and Porto have become among the most sought-after European capital cities for international residents, combining old-world architectural beauty with a growing modern economy, excellent food and wine culture, and Atlantic coastlines that rank among Europe's most scenic. The Algarve in the south remains one of Europe's premier beach destinations, drawing millions of visitors annually. And Portugal's relatively accessible property prices compared to northern European capitals have made it one of the most attractive relocation destinations for people moving within Europe and from further afield. Number 7. Austria. Austria holds 7th place, a position entirely consistent with its long history as one of Europe's most stable, prosperous, and culturally rich nations. Nestled in the heart of Central Europe, Austria combines the safety characteristics common across the top tier of this list: low crime, strong institutions, high social trust, and minimal external conflict, with a physical and cultural environment of extraordinary quality. Vienna, Austria's capital, consistently tops global quality of life rankings as one of the world's most livable cities, combining world-class museums, concert halls, and coffee houses with efficient public transport, excellent healthcare, and the kind of calm, ordered daily life that reflects a deeply stable society. The Vienna Philharmonic, the Spanish Riding School, the Kunsthistorisches Museum, Austria's cultural heritage is among the richest in the entire world, and the everyday experience of living in it is supported by a safety infrastructure that makes it one of the most anxiety-free urban environments anywhere. Austria's mountain landscapes, the Alps covering significant portions of the country, add a dimension of natural beauty that makes it not just one of the safest but one of the most visually spectacular countries to live in or visit. Skiing in winter, hiking in summer, and the extraordinary scenery of Salzburg, Innsbruck, and the Salzkammergut Lake District make Austria one of Europe's most complete countries in terms of the combination of safety, culture, and natural environment. Number 6. Ireland. Ireland holds 6th place in the 2026 Global Peace Index, a position that reflects the island nation's extraordinary transformation over recent decades from a country with significant internal conflict to one of the most peaceful and stable nations on earth. Ireland's path to peace involved the resolution of decades of political and communal violence through the Good Friday Agreement of 1998, one of the most celebrated peace processes of the modern era. In the years since, Ireland has built democratic institutions of genuine strength, maintained low levels of violent crime relative to its European peers, and established a society characterized by high social trust and strong community bonds. Ireland has also become one of the world's most successful small open economies, with a thriving technology sector centered in Dublin that has attracted virtually every major global tech company to establish European headquarters there, creating a dynamic, internationally connected urban environment that draws talent from around the world. Combined with Ireland's spectacular Atlantic coastline, the wild Atlantic way, the literary and musical culture that the country has contributed to the world far out of proportion to its small size, and the warmth of Irish hospitality that is genuinely as real as its reputation suggests, Ireland offers a quality of life that matches its safety statistics completely. Number 5. Slovenia. Slovenia at 5th place is perhaps the most unexpected country on this list for many viewers, and it is one of the most interesting stories in the entire 2026 Global Peace Index. Site index equals 11-1, Slovenia climbs 2 places to 4th, emerging as one of the list's most underrated countries. Site. Slovenia is a small Central European country, population just over 2 million, that was part of Yugoslavia until independence in 1991. In the more than 3 decades since independence, Slovenia has built a democratic, stable, and increasingly prosperous society that consistently punches far above its weight in global quality of life and safety rankings. It was the first former Yugoslav republic to join both NATO and the European Union, and it has maintained that stability and integration consistently since. What makes Slovenia genuinely remarkable is the combination of its exceptional safety statistics with its extraordinary physical environment. Slovenia is one of Europe's most naturally beautiful countries, a place where Alpine mountains meet Mediterranean coastline meets Central European river valleys, all within a country roughly the size of Wales. Lake Bled, with its island church rising from a glacial lake beneath a clifftop castle, is one of the most visually stunning locations in all of Europe. The capital Ljubljana is a compact, walkable, charming city with a thriving cafe culture and a deeply livable quality of life. And the Triglav National Park offers world-class hiking and outdoor experience. Yet despite all of this, Slovenia remains significantly undervisited and underappreciated compared to its more famous European neighbors, which means lower prices, smaller crowds, and the feeling of genuine discovery that increasingly rare in a heavily touristed Europe. Number 4. Switzerland. Switzerland at 4th place requires little introduction as a byword for stability, precision, and quality, but it is worth spending a moment on why Switzerland is as safe as it is, because the reasons are more interesting than the stereotypes might suggest. Site index equals 11-1, Switzerland ranks 3rd, reinforcing a long-held perception among travelers, underscored by the data, as one of the most consistently stable and secure countries in the world. Site. Switzerland's safety is built on several uniquely Swiss foundations. First, its long-standing policy of armed neutrality, maintained across centuries and through 2 world wars, means Switzerland has not been involved in an external armed conflict since 1815, one of the longest periods of external peace of any nation in the modern era. Second, Switzerland's direct democracy system, which allows citizens to call referendums on legislation and constitutional changes, creates an unusually deep sense of civic ownership and engagement that reduces the political alienation that often underlies social unrest. Third, Switzerland's multilingual, multicultural identity, German, French, Italian, and Romansh are all official languages, has required and produced a sophisticated model of managing diversity that has served as a stabilizing force across centuries. The result is a country of extraordinary natural beauty. The Alps, Lake Geneva, Lake Zurich, the Rhine Falls, combined with world-class cities like Zurich, Geneva, Basel, and Bern, exceptional public services and infrastructure, and a quality of life that consistently ranks among the highest in the world. That Switzerland achieves all of this while maintaining its position among the world's safest countries is not an accident. It is the product of centuries of deliberate institutional design. Number 3. New Zealand. New Zealand rises to 3rd place in the 2026 Global Peace Index, moving up from 4th last year and recording the lowest ongoing conflict score across the entire Asia-Pacific region. Site Index equals 11-1, New Zealand moves up to 2nd place, from 3rd, recording the lowest ongoing conflict score across the Asia-Pacific region. Beyond its striking natural scenery, it offers a level of political stability and societal calm that few countries can rival. Site. New Zealand's safety is rooted in a combination of geographic isolation, as a remote island nation in the South Pacific, and a deeply embedded democratic culture built on strong institutions, low corruption, and genuine civic engagement. The country's response to the Christchurch mosque shootings of 2019, which resulted in rapid gun law reform passed with near-unanimous parliamentary support within weeks, demonstrated the kind of decisive, values-driven governance that characterizes New Zealand's approach to societal safety. New Zealand is also one of the most physically extraordinary countries in the world, a fact that Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films introduced to global audiences, but that no film can fully capture in person. From the fjords of Milford Sound to the geothermal landscapes of Rotorua, the vineyards of Marlborough, the beaches of the Bay of Islands, and the mountains of the Southern Alps, New Zealand packs more diverse natural wonder into a relatively compact country than almost anywhere else on Earth. For anyone considering where in the world they might want to live, New Zealand's combination of extraordinary natural environment, political stability, cultural warmth, and top 3 global safety ranking makes it one of the most complete packages available anywhere. Number 1, Iceland, for the 19th consecutive year. And at the very top of the world, for the 19th consecutive year, sits Iceland. Site Index equals 11-1, Iceland retains its position as the world's most peaceful country for the 19th consecutive year. With no standing army and exceptionally low crime levels, it stands apart in the data, described as outperforming all others by a significant margin. In practical terms, there is no destination globally that matches its level of safety. Site. 19 years. Not once in nearly 2 decades has any other country managed to displace Iceland from the top position of the world's most comprehensive safety index. That is not just an impressive statistic, it is a statement about a country that has built something genuinely and consistently extraordinary. What makes Iceland so uniquely safe? Several things, operating together. Iceland has no standing army. It is one of only a handful of countries in the entire world that maintains no military force, relying instead on a coast guard and a small crisis response unit. The absence of a military reflects and reinforces a deep cultural and political commitment to nonviolence and peaceful resolution of conflict. Iceland has extraordinarily low crime rates, among the lowest in the entire world. Violent crime is so rare that when it does occur it makes national news precisely because of its rarity. The homicide rate in Iceland is among the lowest ever recorded for any country. And Iceland's prison population is tiny, not because punishment is harsh, but because crime itself is so uncommon. Iceland is also one of the world's most gender-equal countries. It has ranked first on the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Index for over a decade, and research consistently shows that gender equality and societal safety are deeply interconnected. More equal societies generate less violence at every level. Iceland's population is small, just over 370,000 people, which means that the social fabric is tight, community trust is high, and the distance between citizens and their government is short. Icelanders can and do hold their leaders directly accountable, and the political culture reflects this. And then there is the physical environment itself. Iceland is one of the most dramatically beautiful places on the entire surface of the planet. Glacier, active volcanoes, geysers, the northern lights dancing across the winter sky, midnight sun in summer, black sand beaches, thermal hot springs, waterfalls that fall directly into the North Atlantic. Iceland is a place that makes you feel the planet's age and power in ways that almost nowhere else can match, and it is also one of the safest places on Earth to experience all of it. Now that we have covered the top 10, I want to take a moment to step back and look at what these rankings tell us collectively about the world in 2026, because the patterns are genuinely illuminating. Pattern 1. Europe dominates, but not all of Europe. Site index equals 14-1. 7 of the 10 safest countries are located in Europe. Site, but not all of Europe. The safest countries in Europe are overwhelmingly in the northern, western, and central regions. The Nordic countries, Iceland, Finland, and neighbors like Denmark and Norway, which are just outside the top 10, have built societies characterized by high social trust, strong public institutions, low inequality, and genuine civic engagement. These are not accidents, they are the products of deliberate policy choices made over generations. Pattern 2. Wealth matters, but wealth alone is not enough. All of the top 10 countries are relatively prosperous, but prosperity alone does not guarantee safety. Several of the world's wealthiest countries do not appear anywhere near the top of this list. The difference between wealthy countries that are safe and wealthy countries that are not is largely about how wealth is distributed, how strong civic institutions are, and how deep social trust runs. Inequality in particular is one of the strongest predictors of violence. Societies where wealth is more equally shared consistently report lower crime rates and higher safety indices than societies with equivalent average wealth but greater inequality. Pattern 3. The gap between top and bottom is widening. Site index equals 11-1. Steve Kalelia, the founder of the Institute for Economics and Peace and the creator of the Global Peace Index, says the picture that emerges from this year's index is of two worlds moving apart. Site, while the countries at the top of the index have remained remarkably stable, the countries at the bottom have gotten significantly worse. Site index equals 13-1. The 2026 edition marks the report's 20th year and signals that global peace has declined for the 12th year in a row. Site, this widening gap between the world's safest and least safe countries has real human consequences in mobility, in opportunity, and in daily lived experience for billions of people. Pattern 4. Small countries consistently outperform large ones. With the exception of New Zealand, every country in the top 10 is either small in population, small in geographic size, or both. Iceland has 370,000 people. Slovenia has 2 million. Singapore is a city-state. Switzerland and Austria are mid-sized European nations. This pattern is not coincidental. Smaller countries tend to have tighter social fabric, more direct relationships between citizens and government, and less of the anonymous urban alienation that correlates with higher crime in very large cities and countries. And that is a complete picture. The 10 safest countries in the world in 2026, as determined by the Global Peace Index 20th Anniversary Edition. From Iceland at the very top for the 19th consecutive year, through the remarkable consistency of New Zealand and Switzerland, to the quiet surprise of Slovenia and the extraordinary achievement of Singapore, these 10 countries represent the best of what human societies can build when stability, trust, and genuine civic commitment are prioritized over generations. In a world where global peace has deteriorated for 12 consecutive years, where more countries are involved in active conflict than at any point since the Second World War, the fact that these countries have maintained and in some cases improved their positions is genuinely worth celebrating. Not as a reason for complacency, but as proof that the kind of safety, stability, and quality of life that every human being deserves is actually achievable. These countries prove it every year. If this video gave you a clearer picture of where the world's safest places actually are, and why, please give it a thumbs up and share it. It is the kind of content that travels well beyond any single community or country, because safety and the desire for it is genuinely universal. Subscribe for more data-driven travel and global mobility content, and drop a comment telling me which country on this list surprised you most or which one you would most want to visit or live in. I read every comment and would love to hear from you. See you in the next video.